Welcome to our lesson on creating your first Java program. If you would remember, in our last lesson, we covered setting up the development environment for Java, and we went through installing the JDK and setting our system variable so that our Windows operating system especially will recognize our Java commands when we run our programs from the command prompt. Today, I'll take you through a simple lesson of creating your first Java program. In order to create your first Java program, we'll be following 4 simple steps. The first step is to type your code. The second step is to save the file. The third step is to compile your program. And then the last step would be running your program. In typing your code, you would use any preferred text editor. Example, Notepad, Notepad++, Sublime Text, etc. In saving your file, you will pick any location of choice on your computer and save your file with a .java extension. You need to take note that the folder containing all your Java programs should reside on the drive that contains your Java installation. In the process of compiling your program, you would use the Java command to do that. Then we'll use the Java command to run the program. Now let's move on to the first step of typing your code. You will first have to open your program. For the demonstration of this lesson, I will be using Sublime Text to do my typing of code. So I'll open my file and then we'll be typing. But before we do that, we mentioned earlier that if you want to create a Java program, what it means is that you'll be creating a class. Unlike the C++ language, where you meet classes later in the course of your studies. For Java, the concept of object-oriented programming is met right from day one when you start programming. So for this lesson, in order to create our first program, we would need to create a class purposely for that. And in creating classes, one thing that comes to mind is picking class names, or what is termed identifiers. In order to select your identifiers, there are some basic conventions or rules that you need to follow in order to select identifiers that are compatible with the Java language. Let's go through some of the basic steps in doing that. So in order to choose a class identifier, the first thing you must bear in mind is the fact that it must begin with a letter of the English alphabet. A non-English letter such as alpha or pi, an underscore or a $sign. Then secondly, your identifier can contain only letters, digits, underscores, or $signs. However, you cannot use a reserved keyword such as public or class as part of your identifier. And the last point I will talk about is the fact that it cannot also begin with a digit, neither can it contain spaces. So these are some basic ideas we can go along with when choosing our class identifiers. In the course of our lessons, we'll touch on some additional conventions that have been accepted over time that is applicable to the Java language. So now let's go back to our text editor and then type our code. So we'll be creating our first program that will be printing a simple sentence to the console. So we'll create our class with the name print text, and then we'll go ahead and prepare the rest of our statements. So I've opened my text editor. So I'll first have to create my class by starting with the keyword public, and then the keyword class to indicate that I'm creating a class, and then my class name print text. Then I have my opening and closing braces. Then I type my main method, which is public static void main, and then with our string array objects as our arguments. And then our opening and closing braces will come. Now we know that in order to print text to screen, we use the system class that is already defined in the Java language. And then we use the object out, which deals with output. And then we will use the method print line, because we want every statement that will be printed to fall on a line so that we can see them clearly. And then we'll be typing welcome to Java programming as our test. And we need to terminate our statement with a semicolon. So as you can see clearly, I have typed my code. So I just want to change the references so that we can see all the lines on one line. Okay. So this is our code. Now we'll go ahead and save our file at the location where we'll be keeping our programs. So I have created a folder in my desktop with the name Java Programs, and that is where I'll be saving my files. So we'll name this class print text.java, and then we'll save. Okay, so our file has been saved. Now let's go to the command prompt, and then we'll compile our code and run. So I'll open the command prompt, and then I want to be sure I'm at the location where my Java programs are. You remember I saved in a folder inside documents, so I'll change directory to documents, and then from there I'll look for my folder, which is Java programs. You can see it at the top here. So I'll change directory into that folder as well, and then I'll do a quick check to be sure my Java program is at the expected location. So I can see my print text.java. So I'll use my Java command plus the name of my Java program print text.java, and then I'll compile. Okay, so I do not see any errors at the moment. I'll use Java to run the file to see the outcome. Okay, so you can see my statement welcome to Java programming printed out neatly on the screen. In our subsequent lesson, I'll be going over how to work on our programming styles and then how to work on documentation. See you in the next lesson.